Nothing quite like heading out there and enjoying a day of boating. One great way to cap off a day of boating is by taking a little dip in the water. But of course, that's really only a good thing when you intend to actually take that dip in the water. But sometimes, when we're out there on the boat, it doesn't matter. Things are going to happen and we may wind up in the water anyway. Just like some of the things we're going to witness on this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, of course, there are plenty of ways to wind up unintentionally in the water in boating. One way is just not being prepared or doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing on the boat. Second way is maybe you're going to run into a task that all of a sudden you got to jump in and give a hand on that you weren't intending to, which means you might wind up wet. This really is the ultimate try and get it off the bar kind of attempt. We've got 6 or 8 guys up here pushing on the boat full on in reverse, and not just one boat, but multiple boats trying to tow them out. Kind of your sign that this one's probably not going anywhere because she doesn't appear to be budging. In fact, all that's happening is the boats they were pulling are getting pulled back toward her once the line tension goes. But here you can see that's not going to stop the troops from rallying. They're going to get out there and give it their all. And speaking of needing pulled out, I got a feeling this guy's going to need to pull off the dock, and our next crew, they're probably going to need a tow of some kind in the end as well.
No way! Oh my god! What?
I still can't believe in the end that somehow this engine hung on. It looks like fuel lines or something just stayed attached and kept it with the boat. Now, most times when we think of going out on a boat, we just think of the fun times, getting out there, enjoying the day, having a fun time on the water, but most boat owners will tell you it's not all fun and games when you own a boat. Sometimes owning a boat can be a dirty job. Sure, many of you just see the highlights of it if you're not a boat owner. You just see getting out there in the water, enjoying the sandbar, but you don't see the work that has to go in on the back end, the maintenance, and of course cleaning up after everybody else. Now, of course, if you don't want to clean up after everybody else, there is a way to avoid that. You can always go out there and purchase a boat that's only big enough for yourself. At least then, the only person you really got to worry about in the end is you. But sometimes that won't pay off as well. And other times when you're out there in the water, you got to worry about everybody else who's out there because you never know what they're going to do.
Oh my god, he's gonna crash into the other boat. Oh my god!
I mean, maybe the other boat's his and he just wanted to move it because he didn't like where it was parked, kind of like this crew, who didn't like where their car was parked on the rocks, so they decided they would move it somewhere else as well. Now, this may be one of the more interesting things I've seen. Of course, going down to the boat ramp and launching the boat can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but maybe it's made a little easier when you go ahead and make the trailer of the boat, kind of like this crew did. I guess it is one easy way to go ahead and get it out of the water. Speaking of getting it out of the water, sometimes when you're boating you don't want to, so you just leave it. Speaking of just leaving the boat on the water, there are going to be those days where you head out there to enjoy a day of boating and you're going to wish you would not have. You're going to wish you would have just left that boat sitting on the anchor or sitting on the dock at the marina or sitting in your yard on the trailer at the house, but you choose to go out anyway. And the weather's not going to cooperate, kind of like we see in this instance here. Obviously, we can tell this is a pretty bad weather day, but an even worse weather day to be out there sailing when you're relying on the weather to get wherever you want to go. And unfortunately for this crew, it doesn't work out well. I mean, maybe they really didn't want a sailboat anyway. Maybe that's why they did this, and it was intentional. They only wanted a powerboat. And so by doing this, they now have just that, and now they're going to have to power their way back to the dock. Just hopefully they don't power onto the dock. I mean, sometimes as boneheads we forget the golden rule, which is never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it, because eventually it's going to happen. Just like this one will happen to everybody at least once too, you'll go ahead and put that boat in gear while the lines are still attached at the dock. Now hopefully when that does happen to you, you realize it quick enough to pull off the throttle. Now we see people struggle down at the boat ramp all the time trying to get their boat off the trailer, but it's not very often we see boaters down here struggling trying to get a car on the trailer. Now I'm assuming this is a ferry service of some sort, but definitely they probably should have checked the weight limits before trying to pull this one off. I'm just guessing this is not their first rodeo, and maybe even not their first time trying something like this, but something's definitely gone wrong somewhere, and unfortunately for this crew, they're about to pay the price as they're about to lose their ferry. Now, unfortunately for this crew, not only did they lose the ferry, it appears they lost the truck. Good news is everybody was okay in that situation. Kind of like this one though here. Here it looks like these guys are trying to pull out some sort of commercial vessel with a vehicle that is definitely probably not rated for the task. This one could go wrong easily. It's wild to watch this little truck try and pull this out, but wait till the end of this clip and watch how the boat that weighs so much, it basically almost picks this truck up in the end when they stop. Right here though, they're bouncing trying to get it done. Do you think the guy actually standing there on the tongue of the trailer is doing anything with this much weight? Let me know in the comments. Now, while our last boneheads weren't quite able to get it done, this might be the most unique and maybe one of the best single solo launching methods I've ever seen. And as you guys know with our Miami Boat Ramps channel, I have seen a lot, but I've never seen anybody do it this way. I've seen lines hanging out the window with guys holding onto the line and various other things like that, but I've never seen one where somebody left enough slack in the line for the boat to come off the trailer and then perform this. Leave it set up where as they start to pull their trailer out, it actually physically brings the boat back to them so they can step back onto their vessel and get it set up the way they want. This one is pretty ingenious, but thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know when you might see your stories over here. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and make sure you hit the subscribe button.